Hey guys, I'm Alex. Some of y'all might know me because I've been at High Ridge for a pretty long time, but right now I'm in Florida because I moved here. But I miss y'all a whole lot, and I wish I could be there hanging out and playing games and worshiping with y'all. But right now I'm really glad to be doing this video lesson with y'all. So right now we're in a series called The One Thing, and we're talking about how we can love others. All right. Today we're going to be talking about loving your neighbor. All right, we're going to talk about loving your neighbor and how we can be a good neighbor to other people. Okay? So today we have two verses. First, John 15:12, which says, "This is my commandment, love each other in the same way that I have loved you." All right? And Luke 10:27 is our second verse. This is our main verse for this week, the one we're going to be talking about a lot today. It says, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." So, this verse, a little backstory to this verse, that is Jesus talking. Luke 10:27, this is a quote from Jesus, okay? So, before we get into what Jesus is saying, I want to give you all a little more backstory. So, once there was a guy, all right? There was a dude, and I don't know his name. So today we're just going to call him Mr. Dude. Okay, so Mr. Dude was hanging out in the same area that Jesus was in. Okay, so he heard that Jesus was really smart and that he knew a whole lot of stuff about the Bible and that he was even the Son of God. So he figured, hey, if Jesus has all the answers, then I'm going to ask him a question. All right, so he asked him a pretty good question that a lot of people asked. A lot of people asked this same question. So here's the question. He said, "Jesus, what is the very most important commandment?" All right. Out of all the 10 commandments, what's the most important one? All right. So Jesus replied with the verse that we just talked about a minute ago, Luke 10:27. "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." Okay. So this verse, it might seem like two different commandments. It might seem like two different things, but they actually work hand in hand. They work together to love, all right? So Jesus, his one commandment, the one thing we can take out of this is love, all right? But loving God and loving people, they work together, all right? To help us understand this a little better, right here I have a bicycle tire. So on this bicycle tire, there is several different parts. There is a tire, the actual tire, the rubber part, and there's the wheel on the inside. Now on this wheel, you have the outside of the wheel right here, and then you have the spokes, which go in. These little bars, these little metal bars, all over the place, little stick things, these are spokes. And on the inside, the very middle of the tire is the hub, okay? So today we're going to pretend that the spokes are people and that the hub is God, all right? So each one of these spokes represents a person. So this one could be me, this one could be you, this one could be your best friend, this one could be your mom, this one could be your dad, this one could be your grandma, this one could be your grandpa. This one could be the person sitting next to you. This one could be your leader. This one could be anybody. Any of these spokes could be any people. All right. So, just like these spokes, people, as they get closer to God, they get tighter and they get closer. See these spokes on the outside? There is a gap. They're far apart and they're not very strong when they're far apart. But as they get closer to the middle, as we as people get closer to God, they get closer together and they get tighter and they get stronger right in here, all right? So, as we get closer to God and as we love God more and more, and as we get closer and closer to Him, as we read the Bible more, as we worship Him more, as we figure out who He is more, then the closer we can get to people, all right? So loving God helps us to love people. They do the same thing, love, all right? So, to love people, you gotta love God, all right? And a person who loves God, loves people, all right? So that concept helps us to be a good neighbor, all right? So we're going to look in the Bible at a story that Jesus told called a parable. By the way, a parable is just like a short story that Jesus will tell people to help them understand stuff better. A lot of times these are made up stories, but they help people understand. All right? So this parable is called the parable of the Good Samaritan. All right? So the parable of the Good Samaritan goes like this. If you want to read it for yourself, it's in Luke 10:25 through 37. But right now, I'm just going to kind of summarize it. All right? So there once was a Jew who got beat up and thrown on the side of the road. All right? So he was hurting, and he was not doing very well. He didn't have anything. All his stuff got stolen. And he was curled up on the side of the road, not doing well, and he needed some help, okay? This Jew needed help, all right? But there were 3 people who passed him, okay? Or there were 3 people that he encountered. One of them didn't pass him, one of them helped. So the first person that he encountered was, who was he? A priest. He was a priest, all right? So this priest came up to him, and he actually, when he got close to him, he went the other way to go around him, all right? The priest, who is supposed to be a good person, the person who has a good reputation with people, the person who's supposed to help other people, he avoided him and he went right past him, didn't help him. All right. Then there was a Levite. Then this Levite was pretty popular. He was part of a tribe that a lot of people liked. He was supposed to be another good person, another person who would help people. But this Levite did the same thing and just went right past him. He didn't care. He decided to ignore the person who needed help. All right, but then there was a Samaritan. So the Samaritan, he came up on the Jew and he actually went to help. All right, so this Samaritan helped the person who was in need. So a Samaritan was actually a person that the Jews didn't like. All right, so the Samaritans and the Jews, they were kind of, they didn't like each other. All right, the Jews kind of bullied the Samaritans a lot for who they were. And so if you were a Samaritan, you would get bullied, and your family would get bullied, and your friends would get bullied, all because you're a Samaritan. It was kind of messed up. But even though the Samaritan had a bad reputation, even though the Samaritan knew that the Jews weren't very nice to people like him, he still pulled over in his little animal, and he helped him. He helped the Jew to get better. He loaded him up on his animal, and they went on the road, and they went into town. And the Samaritan actually bought him a room in the inn. He dropped him off at the inn and told the innkeeper, hey, here's some money. Take care of this guy that I found on the side of the road and make sure he's all right. I'll be back sooner or later, and whatever you need, whatever money you spend taking care of him, whatever extra you spend, I will give you back, okay? Just take care of this dude, all right? So the Samaritan, out of all the people, he had the worst reputation. He was a person that not a lot of people liked, all right? He was a person that you would least expect to stop and help somebody, all right? But he was the one who was a good neighbor. It didn't matter what the reputation was. It didn't matter what he had done before. It didn't matter what the priest did before. It didn't matter what the Levite did before. The one thing that mattered was he was the person who was a good neighbor. He was the person who stopped and took out time and effort to help the guy who needed help, all right? And that shows us how we can be a good neighbor. It doesn't matter what kind of reputation you have. It doesn't matter what you've done or what anybody else has done. None of that stuff matters. What really matters is the decision that you make to stop, to take out time and effort, and to help somebody else, all right? So to help us apply this concept, I want to give y'all a challenge, all right? So your challenge for this week is to help somebody who needs help in a way that you've never done before, all right? So a lot of times the way that we can help somebody is by opening the door for them, being polite, helping them up when they fall down, or doing chores for our parents. You hear that a lot, but try to find something that you've not done before to help somebody that really that'll really help you to put effort out, to put time into somebody else to help them. All right? So that's all I got for you today. I hope you all have a great week, and I hope you all have a great group time. I love y'all. I miss y'all, and I'll see you later. Bye.